Tina Mitchell here with your money chat. Here in the mortgage business, we often live 24 hours at a time. Like the weather, if you don't like today's climate, there's always tomorrow. In the market headwinds, one being Ukraine, and in punctual fashion, Putin opened his mouth and reminded us of their overseas implications. Whenever you hear the word nuclear, people tend to get their feathers ruffled. Ukraine created two types of headwinds, one being supply chain challenges, think wheat and gas, which is inflationary and a rate worsening implication. The other is war, which is the risk off sell stocks and bonds and gives lift to the treasuries, helping improve mortgage interest rates. Considering that we've already accounted mostly for the Ukraine's inflationary pressures involving our own sanctions against them, the latter is prevailing. Now, the main event this week was the Federal Open Market Committee announcement. Although the news of Ukraine is absolutely a factor today, it's not impacting our own economic policy. The Fed did hike the federal funds rate by 75 basis points as expected. And I mentioned last week, they continued to beat the drum that inflation is still far too elevated. Initially, the market sold off, but oftentimes there can be a ton of volatility on Fed Day. The market's appearing to be digesting the Fed's projections negatively, as it shows that the Fed is losing control and does not have a good handle on inflation. The Fed now expects an additional 125 basis point of hikes this year, which may be 75 basis point hike in November and 50 basis point hike in December. Additionally, the Fed anticipates core price inflation to be at 4.5% at the end of 2020, which is not a lot of progress from the current levels towards their goal of 2%. Between the significant revision in the Fed hike expectations and increase in inflation expectations, the market believes that the Fed does not have control of inflation, which the bond market hates and is bad for mortgage interest rates. On the recession front, Powell said that the chances of a soft landing are likely to diminish to the extent that the policy needs to be more restrictive or restrictive for longer. Nonetheless, we're committed to getting inflation back down to 2%, end quote. This can be seen in their projections from growth, which was revised lower from 1.7% in 2022 to 0.2%. They also believe that the unemployment rate will go up to 4.4% next year. There isn't enough sugar, gumdrops, and coffee to spin this market commentary. It's ugly out there. After Wednesday's Federal Open Market Committee released, Powell also shared that the potential for a soft landing would be less likely. The biggest market mover moment was the communication that the Fed doesn't plan to rescue the market with a rate cut in 2023. Somewhere over the rainbow is a stop to this bloodbath, but regrettably, we must simply follow the yellow brick road to see how this all plays out. Now, to end on a positive mode, to quote Andrew Stringer, which is our Highlands Residential Mortgage Senior Vice President of Capital Markets, his 3-year-old daughter. Here's her quote: "Let it go. Let it go. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothers me anyway." Now, I'm here to say, if it works for Elsa, it surely can work for us. We just need to hang in there. Tina Mitchell here, and that is your money